Okay, you guys, today we are really focusing on taking the mental stress off of your partner. Maybe it's after a long day, maybe they just had a stressful week and you want to give back to them in this way. This is a face and scalp massage that will absolutely melt that mental stress for them and just have them getting back to normal fairly quickly. So we're going to start off with those compressions that you saw there to the shoulders, maybe do a little side to side. Then you can also press the shoulders at the same time, just using your body weight to get that leverage here. I'm sitting in a chair and she is having her head right towards the edge of the bed, but you can position this any way that makes sense for you guys, any way that's comfortable for you. You can have them sitting in your lap, on the couch, wherever you'd like to do this. I want you to pay attention to how I actually massaged on either side of the ear when I was working my way up the scalp. If you have to go back, that's totally fine. But I really made sure to put 2 fingers on each side of that ear and really rubbed up and down. I'm going to do this a few more times in this video, but that is that magical spot that my clients love, everyone loves. It is beautiful. So we're doing some strokes along the forehead, and I'm actually pressing down on the eyebrows with enough force so that you can actually see the head pushing down. You don't want to slam their head into the bed, but really just using your body weight and using a good amount of pressure here, you can really see how I'm kind of pulling her skin, and it's just giving a good, deep, like decompressing feeling. I like to do some transition moves just by raking my fingers through the hair. Sometimes it feels good, like before we start the scalp massage, just to do a little bit of stimulating the scalp in that way. And then I'm going to skate back up to the eyebrows and do this pinching motion. You can either just pinch or you can pinch and turn. I prefer to do both. You can do kind of a mixture of both. And then once you get to the temples here, just doing some gentle circles. A lot of people are afraid to actually use pressure when it comes to the face, but the only thing you really need to know is that when you get to this area, right around the nose, right under the eyes, you want to use a little bit less pressure, just because it's a more sensitive area. The skin is actually thinner right under the eyes. So when I was in esthetician school and doing facials and all the things, a lot of the times they'd be afraid to touch the face, but this is really the only area that you need to be a little bit cautious of. Just making sure you lighten your pressure a little bit. Your partner will let you know if it's too much or not enough. You can kind of work your way from there. But that sequence that I just did there, working from the nose all the way out to the jaw, was part of my sinus release sequence. So you can really release the sinuses in this way. If they have any kind of like blocked nose, you can skate around the nose just like I did with my fingers on either side, like they're on the cheeks but they're right on the outsides of the nose, rocking back and forth. That's going to help to break up any like mucus that you might have. And then I just went to the jaw and I really sat my fingers into that masseter muscle, which is right in the jaw. That will release any jaw tension, any pain if you're experiencing TMJ problems. This is really where it's going to help. So you can really sink your fingers into that muscle and press down and hold. If you have issues in this area, I want you to kind of hang out here for a long time. 3 to 4 minutes, you can pause this and really sit there. But if you have any kind of issues in this area, this is really going to feel like a good release for you, and it will help with your headaches, your clenching at night, and it'll just help to release all of that for you. We did go along the jawline as well with a pinching motion. This is going to feel super good, but you want to make sure to have your first fingers hooked underneath the jaw when you do that, and then just slightly pressing with your thumbs as you work your way from the chin to the ears. You can go up and down the face with these techniques as many times as you'd like. You can take as long as you'd like. And the way that I taught this is so that you can memorize these areas and actually repeat them without this video. So if you're on the go or you're at a party or something and your partner's like, I just need my face to be released, my scalp to be released, you can go ahead and do that because you'll remember these sequences. Everything about massage is really just memorizing different movements that feel good and putting them in your tool belt. When you have a tool belt to pull from, it really doesn't feel like work. It feels like, oh, I remember this move, this felt good, and this felt good. And really all you're doing between these things is putting these transition moves in between them. So very easily gliding from one thing to another very seamlessly. That's what's going to make it feel amazing and make you feel like you know what you're doing. It'll give you more confidence. and it'll make it so you can massage other people if you want as well. Something that I love about the scalp is being able to do literally whatever you want with it, because there's so much surface area there that you can spend basically hours here. I like to do very specific work on the scalp and then start to do like big flowing motions where I'm really taking my hands and massaging the whole head. But as you can see here, I'm actually taking my 2 thumbs and I'm pressing them in sync down the top of the head. So I started right at the front and I worked my way down in a straight line, and then I'm just going out like an inch to a half inch every single time and repeating that same sequence all the way down. This is going to feel so good and relaxing for your partner, and it really stimulates the scalp in a different way, which I find very interesting. When I was working at a spa, they had us do these different techniques where you're doing like small amounts of pressure on the scalp and then hitting the scalp with bigger amounts of pressure, like using multiple fingers or your whole hand, and it actually stimulates the scalp in a different way, which I find very interesting. Just that you can rub the same area in different ways and have it feel like completely different feelings. I kind of feel the same way about like raking your fingers through the hair. That also has a different sensation, and same with pulling on the hair. A lot of the people that I teach find themselves wanting to really kind of tangle the hair when they massage, which I find super interesting. I find that it's typically during this move that I'm doing right now, instead of like kind of moving your fingers through the scalp in and out, they're doing that kind of circular motion, but they just kind of tangle the hair up and knot it all up. The best way that I found to do this is really just taking your hands and moving in and out with the scalp, but not going in crazy circles or crazy directions to really tangle the hair. Kind of almost like raking it out after each time you do this and making sure that they don't need a detangler after you're touching their scalp. Obviously this only applies to people who have longer hair, but I just wanted to make that note there. We are now moving to the right side of the scalp, and I actually included some neck work in here, obviously making sure we're avoiding the spine, but you can see that I'm actually pressing into her neck muscles. I'm doing some gentle circles here. This is actually the source of a lot of people's headaches, right at the base of the scalp here in the suboccipital area and all the way down the neck. It holds so much tension, and it is a key point to relieving any kind of headaches and really just overall tension in general. So you can kind of skate up and down the neck there, staying there as long as you need to. If it feels good for your partner, pause the video, hold, and stay there for even longer. We're moving into some circles that start right above the ear, but I'm actually taking my thumbs and doing a circular motion and kind of just weaving in and out. I do this very, very slowly, and I make sure not to use the tips of my thumbs, always the pads of my thumbs. It'll give you more surface area and it'll feel a lot better. As you can see, I'm working from above the ear all the way kind of to the top of the scalp here, really just taking the same motion and repeating it, so I'm covering the entire surface area of the scalp. Keeping the thumbs on the scalp, this is a very easy transition into using both of my hands to really give a good overall scalp massage. I'm really just weaving my fingers in and out, taking my left hand through the top of her head and taking my right hand back to that suboccipital area right at the base of the scalp, so I'm really hooking my fingers and getting good pressure there. With the scalp, you can use a good amount of pressure. You really don't have to do anything too light. Typically people can take a lot of pressure, and I'm really just going to turn the head and repeat the same thing on the other side. You know how this goes. On this side, I am starting off with the suboccipitals, really just taking my fingers and hooking them in. I'm going to let you watch it from this perspective, but if you do have a hard time seeing, like especially at the base of the scalp or the neck, you can refer back to earlier in the video where I showed you that on the other side. I'm going to let you follow along just like we did with the other side, and I will come back in when we do our final techniques. Okay, now you can see how I'm taking my left hand and putting it underneath her scalp right at the base. And I'm taking my right hand and I'm pressing in. And I'm kind of thinking of doing this as pressing both of my hands together, just with her scalp in the middle of these things. So we're really applying a good amount of pressure on the head this way. It's going to feel really nice. And then this is an easy transition to be able to take my fingers and put it underneath her scalp, kind of hook it in. I like to do it right on the other side of that ridge. You'll really feel that bony ridge there, and you want to do it on the neck portion. So kind of lifting your fingers up and gently pulling back. This is going to create some traction in the neck. It's really going to help to elongate that spine. You don't want to pull too hard, but you want to make sure that it feels good to your partner. So kind of check in here, ask them how they're doing. This is called an occipital release. They might ask for this all the time if you do it one time for them. And this move will never get old. This is a classic scalp massage. We are again just hooking every single finger in and making sure to use our thumbs. I think that some people forget that. They just end up using their fingers. Really making sure you use the thumbs during a lot of this just adds that extra layer that feels so good. So I'm working my way from right above the ears to the top of the scalp, just moving in gentle circles here. And we're actually going to stay here for a minute, just really working on the top of the head, just using very slow movements here. Okay, we are going to transition now into some hair pulling. This is super fun, but some people really like it or they really don't. There's not really an in-between. When you grab and pull the hair, I want you to pull at the base of the scalp. So not really pulling towards the end of her hair, but really gripping it and grabbing a lot of hair while you grab and pull. This prevents anything from hurting, and you want it to feel like a pressure release instead of like you're yanking someone's hair out. It's going to be a key difference there. You can start to play with the hair, but if you are working down here, just making sure you're not using a ton of pressure to where it hurts them. But I will rake my fingers through the hair and just kind of play with it. It gives a nice sensation there. In the last minute here, we're going to go back up to one of my star moves where I'm really just putting my fingers on either side. You can kind of anchor the thumbs on the forehead too. And I'm really just pushing in on either side of the ear. I'm not pushing into the ear, like squeezing my fingers together. I'm putting that pressure on the jaw and the scalp. So I'm really just moving in and out there. This is just one of my favorite moves. It's so good. And then seamlessly working your way down the rest of the scalp this way. Just going very slow and steady just to finish us out. And that does conclude our session today for relieving mental stress. I hope you guys love this one. I absolutely love it. I love receiving it the most. But it is such a relaxing time. Enjoy this. Both of you take turns doing this for each other. And I will see you next month.